The distant stars twinkled through the reinforced glass of the observation deck as Dr. James Reed pressed his hand against the cold surface. The Earth's research vessel, Horizon, had traveled farther than any human ship before, pushing the boundaries of known space in humanity's first deep space scientific mission. Dr. Reed, we're approaching NK 427, announced Captain Miller through the ship's communication system. Initial scans show breathable atmosphere and gravity similar to Earth. James gathered his research materials and headed to the bridge. The planet below them looked like a jewel, with vast forests of deep purple and oceans of turquoise blue. As the ship's league xenobiologist, he had waited his entire life for this moment. The chance to study truly alien life forms. The bridge buzzed with activity as the crew prepared for their descent. Screens displayed various readings and measurements, all indicating that NK 427 was surprisingly Earth-like. However, something caught James's attention on one of the monitors. "Captain, look at these energy readings," he said, pointing to irregular patterns on the screen. "They're too organized to be natural. Something intelligent made these." Captain Miller frowned. But the Galactic Council's database showed no signs of advanced life here. They classified it as a primitive ecosystem. "Maybe they missed something," James suggested, his excitement growing. "Or maybe something changed since their last survey." The landing was smooth, and the research team quickly set up their base camp in a clearing surrounded by strange trees with bark like polished metal. James led the first expedition into the forest, accompanied by 2 security officers and another scientist. They hadn't gone far when they found the first signs that something was wrong. A crashed alien ship, its hull torn open like paper, lay half buried in the purple vegetation. The damage pattern didn't match any natural disaster. "This is a research vessel from the Centauri Alliance," one of the security officers said, examining the markings. "They were here 6 months ago. According to the Galactic Database, they never returned from their mission." James's handheld scanner picked up traces of large animal activity around the wreck. Whatever had attacked the ship had left deep claw marks in the metal, marks that suggested incredible strength and size. Back at the base camp, James reviewed the data from various sensors they had placed in the surrounding area. The readings showed movement patterns of something big, something that hunted in groups and showed signs of high intelligence. That night, as the team gathered for their first briefing, James shared his findings. "There's a predator species here that the Galactic Council either missed or underestimated. The patterns suggest pack hunting behavior, but with a level of coordination I've never seen before in any Earth species." "How dangerous are we talking about?" Captain Miller asked. James pulled up a holographic display showing size estimates based on tracks and damage patterns. The creature stood nearly 3 meters tall, with a powerful build that suggested both strength and agility. "We're calling them shadow claws, based on their hunting patterns and the marks they leave behind," James explained. "They're active mainly during low-light conditions, hunt in coordinated groups, and show signs of problem-solving intelligence. They've already killed at least 3 alien research teams that we know of." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They were sharing the planet with something that could tear through reinforced spaceship hulls and outsmart other intelligent species. "We should leave," suggested one of the security officers. "Contact the Galactic Council and let them handle this." But James shook his head. "This is exactly why we came out here, to study new life forms. We just need to be careful and observe from a safe distance. These creatures could revolutionize our understanding of alien intelligence." Captain Miller considered for a moment before making his decision. "We'll stay, but with enhanced security protocols. No one goes out alone, and all teams must carry emergency beacons. Dr. Reed, you'll lead the research, but please be careful." As the meeting ended, James stayed behind, studying the sensor readings. There was something about the Shadow Claw's behavior patterns that didn't match that of mindless killers. They showed precision, planning, and purpose. In his gut, He felt there was more to these creatures than anyone suspected. Little did he know that his first real encounter with a shadow claw would change not just his life, but the relationship between species across the galaxy. 3 days after their discovery of the shadow claws, James walked through the base camp's laboratory, checking his equipment for the morning's expedition. The purple sunrise of NK-427 painted the sky outside, creating long shadows across the ground. "Remember the new safety rules," Captain Miller reminded him as James prepared to leave. "Stay within sight of the security team at all times." James nodded, though his mind was already on the strange plant samples he hoped to collect. He joined his team, 2 armed guards, and another scientist named Robert, at the camp's edge. Their path took them through a valley where the metallic trees grew thicker, their leaves chiming softly in the morning breeze. "Movement detected 2 kilometers east," one of the guards said, checking his scanner. "Probably a shadow claw pack." "They're heading away from us," Robert noted. "We should be safe to continue." The team pressed on, collecting samples and taking readings. James found himself drawn to a cluster of crystal-like formations growing from the ground. As he knelt to examine them, a deep rumbling sound shook the earth. "Seismic activity," Robert shouted. "The scanners show underground cave systems." Before anyone could react, the ground beneath them cracked. James jumped back, but the crystal formation he'd been studying collapsed, taking the section of the ground with it. He fell, tumbling down into darkness as his team's shouts grew distant. The fall wasn't long, but it left James dazed. His emergency beacon activated automatically, its soft blue light illuminating the cave around him. His suit's systems reported the air was breathable, so he lifted his helmet's visor to see better. That's when he heard it, a low, pained sound coming from deeper in the cave. Common sense told him to stay put and wait for rescue. But the scientist in him couldn't ignore what might be his only chance to observe one of NK-427's creatures up close. He moved carefully toward the sound, keeping his back to the wall. The cave opened into a larger chamber, and James's light revealed something that made his heart stop. A shadow claw lay trapped beneath fallen rocks, its massive form even more impressive up close. The creature's skin shimmed like polished obsidian, and its muscular body spoke of incredible strength. But what caught James's attention were its eyes, bright, intelligent, and filled with pain. The shadow claw saw him too. Instead of struggling or showing aggression, it went very still, watching him with what seemed like careful calculation. James's training told him to back away slowly. These were the galaxy's most lethal predators. They had torn apart 3 research teams, but something about those eyes made him pause. The shadow claw made another sound, softer this way. Was it trying to appear less threatening? James took a careful step forward, his hands raised to show he carried no weapons. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly, knowing the creature couldn't understand his words, but hoping his tone might help. "I'm a doctor, of sorts. Maybe I can help." The fallen rocks had pinned one of the shadow claw's limbs. James noticed it wasn't trying to free itself violently. That would have caused more injury. Instead, it had been attempting to carefully shift the smaller rocks first. This wasn't the behavior of a mindless killer. His emergency beacon crackled. "Dr. Reed, are you all right? Rescue team is on the way." Captain Miller's voice came through. "I'm fine," James replied, not taking his eyes off the shadow claw. "But I'm going to need medical supplies down here. And Captain, please tell the rescue team to come unarmed." "Unarmed? Have you lost your mind?" "Trust me," James said firmly. "I found an injured shadow claw. It's not attacking. I think they're far more intelligent than we realized." The shadow claw watched this exchange with clear interest, its eyes moving between James and the beacon as he spoke. When James turned back to it, he could have sworn he saw curiosity in its gaze. Slowly, carefully, James took another step forward. The creature made no aggressive moves. Instead, it shifted slightly, giving him a better view of the rocks trapping its limb. In that moment, as Human and Shadowclaw studied each other in the dim cave, James knew he was about to either make the discovery of a lifetime or a terrible mistake. But his instincts told him this was right. "Let's get you out of here," he said softly, and began to work on moving the smaller rocks. The medical bay of the research base was never designed to hold a creature as large as a Shadowclaw. Yet here they were, 2 days after the cave incident, with the massive alien creature resting on a reinforced platform, while James carefully treated its injured leg. "I still think this is crazy," Captain Miller said, watching from behind the safety glass. "That thing could kill everyone in this base." James barely heard him. He was focused on the Shadowclaw's remarkable healing rate. The creature, which he had started calling Ghost, due to its ability to move silently despite its size, watched him work with obvious intelligence. "Look at this," James said, pointing to the way Ghost held its injured limb. "It's deliberately keeping the wound exposed to the medical gel. It understands what we're trying to do." Ghost made a series of clicking sounds, followed by a low rumble that James had started to recognize as a non-threatening signal. The creature's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, something James had noticed happened when it was thinking deeply. "I need to document this," James muttered, reaching for his tablet. Ghost's head tilted, following his movement. Then, to everyone's surprise, the creature slowly extended one of its uninjured limbs and pointed at the tablet. James's heart raced. "You want to see this?" he asked, holding up the device. Ghost made the clicking sound again and reached for the tablet. With incredible gentleness for a creature its size, it took the device in its clawed hands. The security team raised their weapons, but James waved them down. They watched in amazement as Ghost studied the tablet, its claws moving carefully across the screen. After a moment, it turned the device around and showed it to James. On the screen was a crude but clear drawing of 2 figures, one human-shaped, one Shadowclaw-shaped, standing side by side. "It can draw," James whispered. "It's trying to communicate." Over the next few hours, James and Ghost developed a basic system of communication. Ghost proved remarkably adaptive, quickly learning to associate different human gestures with their meanings. It could understand pointing, nodding, and even some simple hand signals. "The rest of the science team thinks you've lost your mind," Robert said, bringing James some food later that day. "They're calling for the base to be evacuated." James shook his head, not looking up from where he was teaching Ghost simple Earth words. "They don't understand. The Shadowclaws aren't mindless killers. Look at this." He held up a series of simple puzzle boxes they'd been using to test Ghost's intelligence. It solved every one, not by breaking them, but by figuring out the mechanisms. "The last one took me 15 minutes. Ghost did it in 3. Ghost made a sound that James had started to interpret as amusement. The creature had begun mimicking human behaviors, including what appeared to be laughter. "But what about the other research teams?" Robert asked. "The ones that were killed?" Before James could answer, Ghost became very still. It reached for the tablet again and began to draw. The image showed other alien ships, but this time they were firing weapons. Then it drew the Shadowclaws, defending themselves. They were protecting their territory, James realized. The other teams came in shooting. They didn't try to understand. Ghost nodded, a human gesture it had learned, and added more to the drawing. It showed its own kind living in structured communities, using tools, caring for their young. "We need to show this to everyone," James said. "The Galactic Council was wrong. The Shadowclaws aren't just predators. They're a civilization." As if to emphasize this point, Ghost carefully drew one final image. A group of humans and Shadowclaws working together, with what looked like stars in the background. "You want us to be allies," James said softly. "You want to show us your world." Ghost placed one massive claw gently on James's shoulder, a gesture of trust that made the security team extremely nervous, but filled James with hope. This was more than just a scientific breakthrough. It was the beginning of something that could change the galaxy. But first, he had to convince the rest of humanity that their scariest nightmare could become their greatest ally. 1 week after Ghost's arrival at the research base, James sat in the observation room, watching in amazement as the Shadow Claw operated a computer terminal. Ghost's claws moved with surprising precision across the specially designed keyboard, typing in a simple language they had developed together. Home, many like me, wait beyond forest, Ghost typed. The creature had learned basic English words remarkably quickly. You want to take us to your home? James asked, making sure to speak clearly. Over the past week, Ghost had started understanding spoken English, though speaking it was impossible due to the Shadow Claw's different vocal structure. Ghost nodded, a human gesture it now used naturally. The creature stood up, its fully healed legs supporting its weight perfectly. Through the window, the purple forests of NK-427 stretched into the distance. Captain, James called through the intercom. I think it's time. Ghost wants to show us where the others live. Captain Miller arrived quickly, followed by Robert and 2 security officers. Though still cautious, the crew had slowly gotten used to Ghost's presence. It was hard to stay afraid of something that spent its free time solving puzzle cubes and drawing pictures of stars. Are you sure about this? The captain asked, watching Ghost type more on the computer. Not dangerous, if come peaceful, Ghost typed. Others know me. We'll protect you. The expedition was arranged for the next morning. As they prepared to leave, Ghost drew a map on the tablet, showing a path through the forest to what appeared to be a valley. James noticed the route carefully avoided the areas where previous research teams had been killed. The journey took 3 hours. Ghost led the way, moving with incredible grace despite its massive size. Sometimes it would stop and point out dangerous plants or unstable ground, protecting the humans just as carefully as it would protect its own kind. As they reached the top of a ridge, Ghost signaled them to stop. Below them, in a vast valley, James saw something that took his breath away. Structures rose from the ground, built seamlessly into the metallic trees. They weren't the primitive shelters everyone had expected. These were sophisticated dwellings with curved walls that caught the light like polished obsidian. Shadow Claws moved between the buildings, carrying tools and what looked like technological devices. This is impossible, Robert whispered. The Galactic Council rated this planet as pre-technological. Ghost typed on the portable computer it carried. High technology. Too many come to steal. Safer to be feared. James watched as adult Shadow Claws taught younger ones how to use tools. In one area, a group worked on what appeared to be a spacecraft built from the same black material as their buildings. Everything showed signs of advanced engineering, but it was all carefully designed to blend with the natural environment. Your people aren't just survivors, James realized. You're protecting your world. Ghost's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, its expression of agreement. It typed again. Other aliens come. Take resources. Hunt us for sport. We fight back. They call us monsters. Easier than understanding. The group watched as 2 young Shadow Claws played with a puzzle device far more complex than anything humans had created. Nearby, others tended to gardens of crystal-like plants that James recognized from his research. Every team that died, James said slowly, they came here to take something, didn't they? Ghost's reply was simple. Yes. No one came to learn. Only to take. Until you. Captain Miller stepped forward, finally understanding. You're not just powerful hunters. You're an advanced civilization hiding in plain sight. You let everyone think you were dangerous animals because it was safer than letting them know the truth. Ghost typed again, its claws moving quickly. Humans different. You help before fear. Ask before judge. Learn before fight. Others in galaxy shoot first. You bandage first. James looked at the peaceful scene below, then at Ghost. We could learn so much from each other. Your technology, our knowledge. We could be allies. The Shadow Claw placed one massive claw gently on James's shoulder. Now a familiar gesture of friendship. It typed one final message. Already our allies. You proved humans special. Now we help you prove it to Galaxy. As they stood there, watching the hidden civilization below, James realized this wasn't just a scientific discovery. It was proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its weapons, but its ability to reach out in friendship, even to those everyone else feared. The peace of the morning was shattered by blaring alarms throughout the research base. James rushed to the control room, Ghost moving silently beside him despite its massive size. On the main screen, multiple ships were entering NK-427's atmosphere. Harvesters, Captain Miller said grimly. 9 ships, heavily armed. They're known for stripping planets of valuable resources. Ghost's claws moved rapidly across its communication pad. They come for us. Our biology unique. They want our essence. Robert burst into the room, holding a data tablet. Captain, they're broadcasting their intentions across all frequencies. They're claiming this is a legal hunt, authorized by the Galactic Council. They're here to eliminate dangerous creatures. James watched as Ghost's 6 eyes turned a deeper shade of purple, a sign of distress he'd learned to recognize. The Shadow Claw typed quickly, not first time. Last year, they took 6 of our young. Turn us into weapons, must protect others. The room fell silent as images appeared on the main screen, showing the harvester ships deploying smaller craft. They carried equipment that looked designed for capture rather than killing. They're not here just to hunt, James realized. They want to capture Shadow Claws alive. Study their biology. That's why they got council approval. They claimed it was for research. Ghost's typing became more urgent. My people hide now. Go underground. But hunters have new technology. Can find heat signals. Need help. Captain Miller studied the tactical display. We're a research vessel. We have minimal weapons. What can we possibly do against 9 warships? James looked at Ghost, then at the captain. We have something they don't expect. Knowledge. They think they're hunting animals. They don't know about the Shadow Claw's intelligence, their technology, their civilization, and they definitely don't know they have human allies. Base sensors picking up ground vehicles, Robert reported. They're heading toward the valley settlement. ETA 20 minutes. Ghost typed rapidly. My people won't fight first. Not our way. But if they reach young ones, the threat didn't need to be finished. Everyone had seen what an angry Shadow Claw could do. Captain, James said, we have to make a choice. Either we stay neutral and watch an intelligent species be hunted and harvested, or we stand with them. This could change our standing in the galaxy, for better or worse. Miller paced the room, thinking hard. If we help, we risk breaking Galactic Council laws. If we don't, we're allowing a crime against a sentient species. Ghost moved to the main computer and began typing. Human laws protect intelligent life. We are intelligent. Have proof now. You witnessed our cities, our technology. Can prove hunters lie. James nodded. Ghost is right. We have recordings, data, evidence of their civilization. The harvester's permits are based on false classification of Shadow Claws as non-sentient creatures. But will the council listen? Robert asked. They'll have to, James replied. Because we're not just going to show them evidence, we're going to show them what humans and Shadow Claws can do together. Ghost's eyes brightened, a sign of determination. It typed, combined strength, your technology, our knowledge of planet, can stop them without killing. Show Galaxy better way. Captain Miller finally straightened up. Send emergency broadcasts to Earth Command and the Galactic Council. Show them everything we've learned about the Shadow Claws. James, work with Ghost to coordinate a defense plan. Robert, get our shield generators ready. As the room burst into activity, James felt Ghost's claw on his shoulder. The message it typed was simple. Thank you. Others fight us, hunt us. Only humans try to understand us. James placed his hand on Ghost's arm. That's what humans do best. We look past appearances. And right now, we're going to show those hunters what happens when they mess with both our species. Outside, the harvester ships descended through the atmosphere, their crews confident in an easy hunt. They had no idea they were about to face something unprecedented in galactic history. Humans and shadow claws fighting side by side. The purple forests of NK-427 were silent as James and Ghost crouched behind a ridge, watching the harvester ground vehicles approach. Around them, both humans and shadow claws waited in perfect stillness. The plan they had created was risky, but it was their best chance. Teams in position. Robert's voice whispered through the communicator. Shield generators ready. Ghost typed quickly on its pad. My people ready too. Underground tunnels all connected, waiting for signal. The first harvester vehicle rolled into the valley, its sensors sweeping the area. James could see the cruel capture devices mounted on its sides, energy nets and stun weapons designed to take down large creatures. They still think they're hunting animals, James whispered. That's their weakness. Ghost's eyes flickered in agreement. The Shadow Claw had helped modify the human shield technology, combining it with their own knowledge of the planet's natural energy fields. Now, hidden generators waited to create something the harvesters would never expect. Captain Miller's voice came through the comm. First vehicle approaching trap point. Stand by. The heavy vehicle rolled forward, its crew confident in their superior technology. They had no idea that beneath them, dozens of shadow claws had spent the night digging and preparing, using their natural knowledge of the ground's composition. Now, James commanded. Ghost raised one massive claw, signaling its people. Suddenly, the ground beneath the harvester vehicle shifted. Not collapsing, but transforming. The metallic properties of the native soil, activated by the Shadow Claw's technology, turned the Earth itself into a natural electromagnetic trap. The vehicle's systems went dark. Its crew, expecting easy prey, found themselves trapped inside their own advanced machine. Second wave, Robert called out. 3 more vehicles approaching from the east. This time, the human technology came into play. Shield generators activated, but not to protect. Instead, they created a series of invisible walls, hurting the vehicles exactly where they wanted them. Ghost typed rapidly. Watch this. Our turn. From the shadows of the metallic trees, shapes moved with impossible silence. Adult shadow claws, each as large and powerful as Ghost, emerged like living shadows. But instead of attacking, they moved with precise coordination, using tools and devices that matched their advanced intelligence. The harvester crews, expecting to face mindless beasts, found themselves outmaneuvered by creatures using tactics and technology as sophisticated as their own. One by one, their vehicles were disabled, trapped, or forced to retreat. Main ships detected above. Captain Miller reported. They're preparing to launch aerial weapons. James smiled. Perfect. Show them what real cooperation looks like. The human research base's defense systems, normally modest, had been enhanced by Shadow Claw technology. As the harvester ships launched their attack, they found their weapons absorbed by shields they couldn't understand. A perfect blend of human engineering and Shadow Claw natural science. Ghost typed, time for final message. Show them truth. James nodded and activated the broadcast system. Across all frequencies, they transmitted the evidence, videos of the Shadow Claw civilization, proof of their intelligence, documentation of their peaceful nature when unprovoked. But most importantly, they showed the cooperation between humans and Shadow Claws, 2 species working together instead of fighting. The harvester ships hung in the air, their crews confronted with undeniable evidence that they weren't hunting animals, but attacking an intelligent, civilized species. And worse, they were now facing both that species and humanity together. This is Captain Miller of Earth's research vessel Horizon. Miller's voice boomed across the frequencies. You are in violation of galactic law regarding the rights of sentient species. Additionally, you have attacked a planet with both human and Shadowclaw defenders. Withdraw immediately." The harvesters, faced with a situation their greed hadn't prepared them for, had no choice. One by one, their ships turned and flowed back into space. Ghost placed a massive claw on James's shoulder, typing with its other hand. "First time in history, hunters run away. Because humans stood with us." James watched the ships disappear into the sky. That's what allies do. And I think this is just the beginning. Around them, humans and Shadowclaws emerged from their positions, no longer two separate species working together, but one unified force that had just shown the galaxy something it had never seen before: the power of understanding over fear. 6 months after the battle with the harvesters, the landscape of NK-427 had changed dramatically. Where once stood a hidden civilization, now rose a joint human-Shadowclaw settlement. The metallic trees sparkled in the purple sunlight as members of both species worked together in the valley. James stood on a viewing platform, Ghost at his side, watching a human diplomatic shuttle land. The events of that battle had spread across the galaxy, changing everything. The Galactic Council had been forced to recognize the Shadowclaws as an advanced species, and Earth had gained respect for being the first to understand them. "Still hard to believe," Captain Miller said, joining them. "A year ago, everyone thought Shadowclaws were just monsters. Now they're teaching us about sustainable technology." Ghost typed on its latest communication device, now much more sophisticated than the simple pad they'd started with. "Because one human chose to help instead of fear, changed both our worlds." Below them, a group of young Shadowclaws was teaching human scientists about the crystal formations that powered their clean energy systems. In return, humans shared their knowledge of space travel and advanced communications. "The Council representatives are ready," Robert announced, approaching the platform. "They're here to finalize the Alliance Treaty." James smiled, remembering how far they'd come. The same council that had once classified Shadowclaws as dangerous animals was now eagerly seeking their knowledge and friendship. But they had insisted on one condition: that humans serve as intermediaries. In the main meeting hall, delegates from Earth sat on one side, Shadowclaw leaders on the other. Ghost, now recognized as a senior diplomat among its people, took its place beside James. Together, they had become symbols of what cooperation between species could achieve. "The Galactic Council recognizes the sovereign civilization of the Shadowclaw species," the lead delegate announced, "and formally approves the Joint Protection Agreement between Earth and NK-427. Ghost typed its response, which James read aloud. "We offer our knowledge freely to those who come in peace. Like humans, we believe understanding is better than fear." The changes weren't just diplomatic. The galaxy's view of both species had transformed. Humans were now seen as insightful pioneers who could see beyond appearances. Shadowclaws were recognized as brilliant engineers who had developed sustainable technology far beyond what others had achieved. After the ceremony, James and Ghost walked to their favorite spot, a cliff overlooking the valley where they had first discovered the Shadowclaw city. The view was different now. Human buildings stood alongside Shadowclaw structures, their designs blending together just as their peoples had. "Remember when you drew that first picture?" James asked. Two figures standing together under the stars. Ghost's eyes sparkled with amusement as it typed. "Drew future. Didn't know it then. Humans unique in galaxy. Only species that tries to understand before judge." A group of children caught their attention. Human kids playing with young Shadowclaws, neither group showing any fear of the other. They were growing up together, learning each other's ways naturally. "Next generation won't know how it used to be," James observed. "To them, this will just be normal." Ghost typed thoughtfully. "Better way. No more hiding. No more fear. Build things together instead." The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of deep purple and gold. Ships from various worlds moved through the atmosphere. Traders, scientists, and diplomats, all coming to learn from this unprecedented alliance. "What do you think is next for us?" James asked. Ghost's response appeared on the screen. "Stars wait. Together, humans and Shadowclaws can teach Galaxy new way. Not strength or fear that matters most. Understanding matters most." James placed his hand on Ghost's massive shoulder, a gesture that had once seemed impossible but was now as natural as breathing. Below them, their two species continued their daily activities, working and learning together. The galaxy's most feared predators and the humans who had befriended them had created something entirely new. It wasn't just an alliance between two species. It was proof that the universe's greatest discoveries came not from fear or force, but from having the courage to reach out in friendship, even to those everyone else feared. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, they stood together, living proof that understanding could overcome any difference, and that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy could become your greatest friend.